What's the deal, folks? The Barbershop is open tonight. That's right. OG Sports Rap Network. It's your boy, Professor G. Great to have you along for the ride, as always. And it is indeed about football tonight. I mean, think about it. You got the Rams and the Seahawks playing in a game of major postseason consequence. And lo and behold, you got a distraction off the field from Puka Nakua and his brother. I mean, my wife loves to give nicknames to pro football players. And her boy Pikachu now on blast because of a peek that everybody can see what you're doing when you're talking about the NFL refs. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have much of a beef with what he said. I'm just not quite sure I agree that he said it. Also, we're going to talk with Jeff Fox, my man from down in Miami. We're going to talk about the Canes and the Dolphins. I mean, it's funny how Tua is now not the quarterback, but he's still on the books for like $48 million or something crazy next year. It's bananas. It's really bananas what's going on down there in New Orleans. So got a real fat show coming up. So you might want to go over there and get yourself a cold one, pop a top, and set a spell as we get down to the business of schooling you like they did in the old school ways when your pop and unc would take you down to the barbershop and you listen to stuff that would change your life or at least make you laugh like hell. That's what we do around here on OG Sports Rap, on Sports Rap, the network. So, tell a friend, or about 500,000 of them you did. And we own ours here at Sports Rap Radio Network. Thank you for hanging out with us as we continue to move it along. And this is where we start really going deep inside the Puka Nakua story, because this has been a rough week for Puka. Make no mistake about it. I mean, in a moment like this, where your team needs the best that you got, you're caught on videotape dissing the NFL reps. And you know something? Good for you. Somebody had to finally say what I've been saying all along. Officiating is getting in the way of the quality of the games. It's too mechanical, too technical, and it takes away from the flow. Now, I don't know who the bozo that decided he was going to take a flick or a roll video on Puka's comments. I don't know if he was set up, but when you figure that off-field controversy and his brother being arrested over the weekend, along with another guy for taking the SUV of a Lakers player who I never heard of until his car got clipped by Puka Nakua's brother. So that's where we are at this hour in the moment, getting in the moments while they're playing a really significant game in the NFL, right? The winner of this game goes to the playoffs. Nakua, it has been so big. The dude already has 102 receptions, and he's already crossed the 1,300-yard mark. But the thing that you have to be worried about in this particular case with all the noise that's going on around him, and this is a big, big game. I mean, the ramifications of which do, in fact, have playoff impact. So how do you compartmentalize, if you're the rest of the team, all the stuff that's gone on off the field? Now, we saw Dallas rise to the occasion earlier this season, and I cannot believe I'm making a Cowboy reference on resilience and focus, but after the death of a teammate, they kind of rallied the troops and got themselves together. Now, I don't know if that rush has leveled off. We all know that you have great rushes of emotion during the course of the time that someone passes. I mean, it's awful, but there's some kind of, spirit or whatever that has often led teams to be better than they are and play with a spirit about them. That happened in Dallas. I think they might be a little worn out with a few injuries, but we don't know. But this live stream where he performed a touchdown dance that called it's called a happy merchant. And apparently it's an anti-Semitic character. I mean, I don't know about you, but even with the game on the line, okay, and potentially a playoff berth, I might have to sit this guy down. This was a bad week. Again, you shouldn't be caught on a live stream talking about the officials. That's number one. And second of all, what's up with the anti-Semitism in a league that used to allow its players to say end racism on the back of their helmet? All right. So, and then it's just, I'm just wondering, is he and his brother really living a good life in LA when the dude, now again, he may not have stolen it. I know of situations where, guys have passed out drunk and other dudes have taken their car just to run an errands, and then they get into an accident, and let's just say that resolves or ends that relationship. Don't want to assume anything criminal, but it's a bad look when the playoffs are on the line and you're a vital contributor and you're caught on tape being stupid. And that's what this is. This is immature, unnecessary stupidity and a distraction for a team who, with their injuries, though not major, didn't need any more distractions. So I'm just wondering what's going on, with the Nakuas, quite frankly. I mean, if your brother is getting arrested over the weekend and then you are basically putting yourself out there on blast. And this is the thing that gets me. No matter how much money you have, no matter how old you are, everybody wants to go on blast on social media. Everybody wants to trend some damn way. And don't go around thinking that pro athletes aren't strategic when they're doing something. Puka Nakua has to be getting ready to launch a podcast of some sort. Everybody else does it. Why not him? This had to be. And maybe I'm cynical, or I truly am trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I can't believe you are so young and naive in your time in the NFL that you don't want to pick battles with officials, okay? Officials can be petty. If the word gets sprinkled out around the crew, and now it will be, you're not getting any calls, right? Those holding calls downfield when you think you beat coverage, the flag is going to stay in the pocket. Real talk. They human beings. They got their grudges, and they will hold them. You are now a guy that's going to catch a grudge, okay? They're not going to let you know when you go up to the line of scrimmage if you're on the line, which could lead to, illegal formation. You did everything wrong in your immature moment to not hurt yourself, but to hurt your team by going like that on blast. And that was selfish. So if the Rams had any balls, if you ask me, they would sit them, okay? Now, I know it's a big game, and I grew up where a coach will tell you, and it costs us, he say, I may cost us a couple of games or two, but I'm not going to let somebody who can't go to class, no matter how good you are, play in the game. I think that might have cost us a championship in my, junior year in high school, but I digress. I mean, hell, it wasn't like it was going to get me a college scholarship, but you would like to have the little jacket to floss around on campus for that year. We missed out on it. And when one of your key players, he should have been popped. I'm shocked that the NFL hasn't levied a fine or something like that as of now. Now, the flip side to a lot of this stuff is, it's always a conspiracy theory about officiating as it relates to influencing games, right? And in this high stakes NFL fandom that we live in, where, literally on the way to, the barbershop, I'm listening to a satellite radio thing, and, they're putting out betting lines of the night. So when you got all this in the way, who's not schooling this kid? Or can you be so crazy that you don't think about the damage that you could do to the brand, your own personal brand? Wow. But that is LA, though, man. Everybody wants to be seen, and Puka Nakua has been seen. I don't think he likes what he sees right now. It'll be interesting to see how it affects his play in a big moment. Now, the college football playoffs getting underway on tomorrow, if you're a college football fan, I mean, we're talking about two blue blood programs in Alabama and Oklahoma who are meeting in a college football playoff game. Yeah, I'm a geek for college football, and this is about as good as it gets in a first round matchup. And with all the layers of headlines, shall we say, to this college football playoff, it's funny how ESPN gets involved and everything becomes like a controversy or whatnot. Now, you got to remember, Oklahoma beat Alabama 23-21 in a regular season game, right? And basically, Bama was in a giving mood. I think Oklahoma got 2 touchdowns and a field goal off of, and one of those touchdowns was a pick six. So basically, Oklahoma's got to try to figure out a way to keep that pressure on Ty Simpson. And Ty's been a little shaky. 4 interceptions in his last 4 games. If you get one early, I think he's out. He may check out for the whole game. So watch the first quarter and a half to see what his accuracy is, number one. And if Oklahoma gets a pick six, if Oklahoma scores a defensive touchdown, you ask me, they will win that game. They are at home. They are that good, and their fans know how to turn Norman, Oklahoma into a home field advantage. And when you consider, I mean, Alabama's offense has really been, I don't know how, inconsistent, shall we say, or I don't even know. It's just not fluid right now. I mean, you got to understand, they only had scored 7 points in the first 3 quarters of that SEC championship loss to Georgia. So, again, the home field advantage will be a big, big thing. But this is going to be a bloodbath. And I can't wait to see it as they kick this thing off on tomorrow night. And then you've got my boys, the U, that are coming out on Saturday against Texas A&M, in their first ever college football playoff game. They're going to be mad because you got that 11th man at Kyle Field and College Station is ridiculous. But Miami is a badass. I mean, they got the swag of the team that I grew up loving back during the 80s. So count me as one right now who can't wait for this thing to kick off. I'm so excited. So coming up next, back on the other side, I'll have a extensive conversation about my boys with the U. I think they got a dark horse run in them. They're fast enough to run with anybody. They're built on the lines, physical enough to play with the Big Ten and SEC schools. The question is, can they get past Texas A&M in the first round, who is an SEC school? If they can do that, I think they got a chance to make a run. But we're going to head to Miami, and there will be no Will Smith. Jeff Fox, oh boy, the Fox that rocks the Fox in South Beach. It's your boy, Professor G, from the Barbershop. It's OG Sports on the network.
Weekends are wonderful at the Savoy. Indulge in buttermilk bliss with fluffy, made from scratch pancakes, drizzled in sweet Savoy syrup. Or pair Chef Melba's shrimp and grits, or sizzling steak sunrise with a sparkling mimosa. Brunch at the Savoy. It's a whole vibe, so we'll see you this weekend, cousin. SavoyDetroit.com.
OG Sports Back. We roll on from the Barbershop. I am Professor G. Thanks for hanging out with us. Remember, your contributions to the program are encouraged and appreciated. Just hit me up with some video on either the HBCU Sports Nation fan page on Facebook. You can send me a message on TikTok and Instagram. And if you got it like that, I'm going to run it like that. And remember, sometimes the best content is when you got beef with me. I have absolutely no problem with that. A lot of people, come on. We can be friends. We can agree without being disagreeable. How about that? Forget the tone that's being set by, dying orange people with a lot of power. But I digress. I'm glad that we're about to kick off this college football playoff because now that we done got through all the controversy, we think, and I just hope, and I don't want to sound like I'm piling on officiating like Puka Nakua, but I mean, this is one of those bad news bears games. All right. Now, for those of y'all who of a certain age, there was a number of movies when I was growing up about a little league baseball team that had all kinds of growing pains with kids growing up. They had a drunk coach and the best pitcher on the team was a girl. There was a lot going on with the bad news bears. All right. And in many respects, there's a lot of bad things that's going on, which are reflective of, how officials are officiating games. And one of the scenes was the game had reached a time. The Bears were playing this other team, and they were playing in the Astrodome, which was a huge thing back in the day. I mean, everybody wanted to play baseball in the Astrodome. I mean, and largely because if you were an East Coast baseball fan like me and you were fortunate enough to have a color TV at that time, those unbelievably ugly now that I'm of age, Houston Astros jerseys of the days of Cesar Cedeno and Bob Watson, right? You thought they were cool. No, they have not aged well. I mean, from the realm of throwback jerseys, those jerseys kind of look like something you should throw away. But that's away from the story. Now, when this game goes into overtime, the Astrodome has to close. So do you continue to you end the game in a tie, or do you let them play on? And the folks in the stadium started chanting, "Let them play, let them play." Okay? And I think that's where we are right now. This is one of those let them play moments. Let's get down to the gritty, if you will, of somebody winning a championship. And the beautiful part I will give these nuts who run college football, they've stumbled into the format that's going to make it work forever. Because there was just enough controversy. And when you have controversy and you piss people off, others are elated, others are pissed. You got everybody watching. And that's where we are. And the question is, unlike most NCAA tournaments, and I'm using the comparison of basketball because we have brackets now in football. Go figure that. Everybody goes mad crazy in February and March looking at the brackets. It's time for college football fan to start looking at possible brackets and say early November, now we got them where we want them. Okay? So I will say this. Now that it's down to business, you're going to see who the best players are, and those are stepping up. And I got to be honest with you. It's kind of disappointing if you're a real fan of college football. And the only reason you missed Notre Dame is because I know I did want to see him play in the tournament. But, Notre Dame didn't handle their business. And again, the whining Irish have nobody blamed to themselves but themselves because they married to NBC money. And NBC is cutting them a big check for now. Now, when those ratings start dropping and Notre Dame's irrelevant, what happens to that NBC money? Then they're going to have to go into a conference. You know why? Notre Dame's so selfish, they don't want to share their TV revenue with a group of other schools. And they're going to find out the hard way that you better align yourself with a conference because Notre Dame's brand doesn't play as well as some of the teams who are in conferences. And so another big thing is that, for Jeremiah Love, he's not a Heisman Trophy finalist, one of the best backs in the country. Since Notre Dame is not going to play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, he doesn't get another chance to play and show himself. Or maybe he wasn't going to play anyway because it was a bowl game because he didn't want to endanger himself, right? And guys are, when it comes to bowls, sitting out games. But that's the one player in this postseason that I'm going to miss seeing. But there are so many talented players in this tournament. I mean, we'll get to see Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback who won the Heisman Trophy from Indiana. And I think that if he gets Indiana to at least the national championship game, not win it, but the national championship game, I don't see how you can't make this guy the number one pick in the draft. And I mean, it's perfect. I mean, he'd play in Indiana. The combine is in Indianapolis. He wouldn't have to throw, but he could still be a personality of some sort. I think Indiana is intriguing for merely the Mendoza storyline. And when you've seen a guy do it in the clutch and you see him do it when he just obliterated another team, that guy was definitely the best player in America. I don't care what the embarrassed Diego Pavia of Vanderbilt said about him. But I'm interested to see, and I think Mendoza's up to the challenge of putting the team on his back. But, and I'm beginning to get off of my Ohio State bandwagon, but I would like to see, because they got, well, it's wide receiver U this year, but they got a couple defensive players that are nasty. Remember the name Ardell Reese. This guy is being compared to Michael Parsons, a ridiculous pass rusher in a conference that has good lines. So I'm interested to see how he plays. And I'm also interested in their safety, Caleb Downs, who is a guy, and maybe I'm, guilty of kind of prospecting for my favorite teams. He would look good in burgundy and gold. That's all I will say. There's another guy that will look good in burgundy and gold, Mikael Williams. When you start talking about NFL edge rushers, then he's one of the best. So also, I want to get the thoughts in just a little bit when we talk to my boy Jeff Fox about the University of Miami, because if you haven't seen this kid, you might want to look at him real close. His name is Ruben Bain. He's a big, physical, mean pass rusher. Okay. I think he's potentially a top 10 pick, but you'll learn in moments like this. See, the structure of the playoffs right now, and players will whine, stock can rise, stock can fall. If you come into the season as a projected first through third round pick, you have a bad regular season and you fall to a projected third to fifth round pick, right? Bet. How do you get back in the top 3 rounds? Your team wins and you ball out in the tournament. And these are just some games to keep and watch, okay? And I'm looking forward to the playoffs for the drama. And I don't expect too many blowouts, other than I would expect that it's going to be a tough challenge for Tulane. When you're reshuffling things and your coach is already taking another job, it was a wonderful season. He had to cash in. Hopefully they go out on top. I don't see it happening, but that's just me. But the thing about the tournament and the brackets, however, is that it's why you play the game. We now have survived in advance in college football. Just think about that. Did you ever think that you would get to the point in college football where you would actually see a moment where we're talking about brackets? Brackets. We ain't talking about bowl games. We talking about brackets. Brackets in college football. I'm down with that. I hope we can morph this football thing into, we should be having the same kind of enthusiasm that we have in March. And we will. And you know something? If this thing continues to work out, and again, you do have dudes behind closed doors with no supervision for an extended period of time, and they just can't seem to figure out how to give us the brackets and let the brackets take over at Christmas like they do in early spring. Fansville is great. Brackets even better. Okay? But again, they're doing an outstanding marketing job. That's the only thing missing. The passion from the fans for the brackets. And you can't tell me there aren't as many fans that are interested in this tournament. Why don't we have a bracket challenge for the college football playoff? I mean, damn, ESPN, do I have to do everything for you? Hell, I'm the one that gave you the idea for HBCU sports. Oh, we don't need that. Why do they have to have black colleges when black people can go to any school? they said, now look at it. Okay? I'm talking about my life experience here, y'all. Okay? And if you want approval, Jay Walker knows too. Just saying. So we want brackets for college football. I mean, it's like almost the college football playoff is still a niche market. It should be the thing. Now, I know you got the NBA and they had the NBA Cup. It's all over now. You got the NFL postseason coming up, but your championships will be completed before the NFL playoffs start. So why not market the brackets? This should be, bracketology as much as you see Black Friday. Because you know my position on Black Friday. Every Friday that I wake up, hallelujah, is a Black Friday to me. Okay? Now, in lieu of the Black Friday for me, I want brackets. Okay? I'm not asking for black brackets. I'm just asking for brackets. Not just the games. We want brackets. Brackets add to the game. You feeling me? Anyway, who else would be down with the bracket challenge for college football? See, I gave them another marketing game plan. I'm telling you, man. Hey, where's my boss at? Hey, somebody call the boss. Tell him to copyright that. The college football playoff bracket challenge. Yeah. Next year, we're going to do that on this show, this station, this network. I'm lobbying for that right now, okay? We do the bracket challenge for college football and make it cool, urbanize it just a little bit because college football is kind of a rural, urban sport. I think we got something there. It's just amazing. Black people are so freaking innovative, all right? So here's an idea for y'all who have no innovation and have been known to steal ideas. All right? I'm doing the work for you, free of charge. Here it is. College football bracket bowl. $100,000 payoff to the winner next year. I'm all in. I'm also Professor G, and this is OG Sports Rap on the network. My man, the Fox that rocks the box, joins us here in South Beach, and I'm not in South Beach. I'm far from it, but Jeff Fox hosts the Jeff Fox Show along with J Love, Jenny Jones, and wow, suffice to say that the football headlines are hot coming out of Miami right now. We should be talking about the Canes, and we will, but the lead story trumped them was Tua being benched. I'll open up by asking you, has he played his final game as a Fin?
I think it's very possible because he's the last guy that Dolphin fans want to see behind center. It's Tua. And, it's partially not his fault. I think he got his bell rung a bit, one too many times. And I think it really affected him. I didn't feel that way until yesterday because he looked god-awful against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He looked punch-drunk. It reminded me of Joe Frazier getting knocked down by George Foreman, bouncing him off the canvas. Something's wrong with Tua. That much I can tell you.
Wow, you physically or mentally? I mean, when you start factoring in the amount of concussions that he's had, I'm no brain surgeon, and you can just look at my college transcripts and you know that. But I mean, for real though, do you think that, or has there been any reference to the fact that maybe there may be something wrong that he should ponder perhaps another career?
Well, I mean, there was real concern regarding, the concussions and all that stuff. And none of us are brain surgeons. And a lot of us in the media wanted him to continue his career, which, started off, pretty good here in Miami when, the Dolphins had that prolific offense. But I just noticed that Tua is afraid to take another big hit. So he doesn't run, and he's a small quarterback,
right?
And small quarterbacks, they can't take that pounding. If you look at your boy Josh Allen, with Buffalo, and you look at your boy in the Chargers,
Justin Herbert.
Herbert. They can take it. Tua can't take it, and I just see a lot. He looked like he's regressed. The Dolphins are running short routes. They're throwing a lot to Asian, and they're not throwing the ball downfield. And Mike McDaniel is basically trying to protect Tua in his offense. And that's not the way Mike McDaniel designed this offense. It's just that Tua's been making so many mistakes that they had to, bring it down, simplify the offense. And they've been running the ball a lot in the recent 4-game winning streak, but at some point when you're getting that kind of money, you got to open things up, and it's been a disaster.
Jeff Fox joins us right now from Miami, where the big story yesterday certainly was the saga of Tua, and even his demeanor at press conferences has seemed a little off. You know what I'm saying? He gets out there and he gets onto these long-winded rants that continue to go on and on like a run-on sentence, and they don't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that stands out to me. I don't understand why the people that are closer to him in that building haven't noticed that what I would assume to be somewhat of a cognitive decline. I mean, am I overstating that?
No, you are not, because I pointed that out, and it started early in the year when he threw his teammates under the bus. And when he mentioned the issues he had with Tyreek Hill, he just goes off, and media members look at each other like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, he just says stuff, And then he was seen after the Pittsburgh Steelers game, or during the game, as a matter of fact, smiling on the sidelines, and just as if he's got a ho-hum attitude, And then he says stuff in the press conferences like, well, I get to go home to my wife and, my beautiful kids. And he's just not connected with the Dolphin fan base. And they hate that. So right now, they're just not feeling him, man. And I called for his benching. I said after the game on Monday night, I think that he should never play quarterback for the Miami Dolphins again. I did come out and say that. And a lot of other media members as well, because Tua is just not that guy.
No, he's not. And I never thought that he was. Yeah. I thought he had one big moment in college football that kind of defined him, that big pass play. But we've seen, the body of pro work, I think it would be safe to say, has shown Jalen Hurts, who he replaced in that game, is much better in leadership and all those other intangibles that Tua has with him. So now that being said, I got to go to your front office, bro. I mean, and start with Stephen Ross, because this is a big investment. Isn't he like a $40-some million cap hit next year if he's not on the books? He's not on the roster or something?
Roughly a $40 million hit. And that's tragic. The Dolphins just went through the whole Ryan Tannehill situation, and they backed that up with this guy. And it's been years and years of mediocre football. They're never quite bad enough to finish with a top 5 pick. They're never quite good enough, to
get to the playoffs, right?
Yeah. And so they're just stuck in the middle. That's what it feels like. And I think the Miami Dolphins should clean house. Fire everybody. Trade everybody. Start all over. They've got to do a complete rebuild and stop doing these Band-Aids on the team, trying to.
How much culpability do you put on your owner, Stephen Ross? Because it's been roughshod. I mean, he played Brian Flores, went out and got McDaniel, has had some incendiary things to say publicly. I mean, how do you rate his performance as an owner? Because you guys as a city have given him everything he wants. Brand spanking new stadium, amenities outside. So he's got revenue streams. I just have to ask objectively, what's his deal?
He has failed. He has failed. And he has made some moves, but all of his moves have failed, ultimately. And I think the Dolphin fan base deserves better because they're a loyal fan base. But this is what they are used to. Mediocrity, right. And it's going to continue, I believe, under Stephen Ross because he won't do a complete rebuild. He keeps thinking that this team is close. They're not close.
No.
They're not close. You know?
Yeah, they are close. They're close to being the Jets. That's what they're close to.
Yeah. You know, and this has been years and years of failure. And now they're watching the New England Patriots in 2 or 3 years come right back from the AFC East, you know, almost to dominance. And while we're stuck in quicksand here in Miami. So it's a sad situation. I think he should fire Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel is not that guy. Have you ever seen a Mike McDaniel press conference?
Yes.
He looks pretty confused. Though.
He looks like a confused pubescent.
Yeah.
Every time he's, your only thing missing is the acne on his face. All right, now let's shift gears and talk about how things were when we grew up.
Yes, sir.
This is OG Sports Rap, and for the new G's who don't remember the greatness that was Jimmy Johnson's crew, we took it for granted that the U was going to be in college football's postseason and play for national championships. They have that opportunity now making the tournament. So what do you make of their chances this weekend in terms of advancing? Can they win? Because I got to admit, as a U fan who goes back to, Vinny Testaverde under center, I don't have faith in Carson Beck to win a big game. I'm sorry, I saw too many mistakes in clutch moments. What do you say? Because you've seen him up close and personal.
He started like a house on fire early in the season. He had a couple of shaky performances midway, but in his last 4 games, he's looked pretty impressive. And I must say, I think this football team is built in the image of Mario Cristobal. He's an offensive lineman, Miami Hurricanes, on both sides of the ball, line and D-line, one of the biggest in all of college football. I think they're going to go into that stadium with their 110,000 and 12 man and all that and push them around because Miami plays big boy football.
So we continue here on OG Sports Rap. OG Jeff Fox with us from South Beach, where it's 80 degrees, running around in Bermuda shorts.
Yeah.
I'm digging out of snow, bro. I love you to death, but I'm hating right now.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, we were talking before the Gremlins came in about the U and their chances to go in the College Station and get a W this weekend. This is the classic ACC versus SEC matchup. This is a big boy game. And you would say that, and I don't want to put any words in your mouth, Miami, as physical and as fast as they are, to me, built in the likeness of a SEC team, which means they have more than a puncher's chance to go in the Texas A&M and get the dub.
I think Miami has the chance to go on a 4-game win streak and knock everybody out. This team can win a national championship. I really believe that. I think they found themselves. They found not only their swagger, but they have talent on both sides. They have NFL talent. Both teams do. But we have some monsters on the O-line, on the D-line, led by Ruben Bain. Watch him, the defensive end, Ruben Bain with the Miami Hurricanes and the other one, Messidor. They're going to be a problem for Texas A&M. They're a problem for anybody in any kind of a matchup with the Miami Hurricanes. And offensively, they've got playmakers everywhere. Everywhere, especially the wide receiver led by the freshman Malachi Tony. Watch him, number 10. They call him Baby Jesus. I guarantee you he's going to have a big game on Saturday.
But again, the leader who would concern me, and as an open and honest, Kane fan, there were a couple of moments this season where I actually threw the remote at the TV because of bad interceptions in critical moments. You've probably seen them a lot more than I have because I've had the painful experience to be on the University of Maryland beat this year for the voice of college football. So are you confident? Because you know how it is. On a run, if you say they can make 4 games, the quarterback is going to have moments that define him, right? Do you think he can win more of those moments? I'm talking about Beck, that is.
Yes, absolutely, because he's found himself. He's found that confidence. He's got a great team around him, and playing in the SEC already with the University of Georgia. He's been in big games like this. It's not going to bother him. He's got adequate tools around him I'm confident that he can do the job. And in fact, I asked my guest yesterday on the Jeff Fox show, Locked on Canes host, Alex Dono, great friend of mine, and he's a Canes analyst, and he feels the same way. Like, Beck, the shakiness, that was midway through the season. The SMU game, the Louisville game, he's over that. He found himself. And Mario Cristobal, and this is key, I think Mario has kind of, stopped the micromanaging and let the offensive coordinator call the plays. Miami has a lot of weapons.
We got to take a pause for the cause right quick, but Jeff isn't going anywhere. We still got a lot more of the college football playoffs to talk about and a whole lot more. It's OG Sports Radio. It's your boy for Pressure G on the network. Well, as we continue with Jeff Fox, we know that all is well in Miami except for the Dolphins. And the Canes have definitely given that city something to really latch on to. But that's not the only football game in town these days. Seems like Lionel Messi is carving his own football legend on South Beach. And Jeff's enjoying a great time at getting the front row to seat.
You'll see this Saturday.
Oh, no, that's not been the case. And again, like I tell the newbies, this team is constructed like the teams Cristobal played for. And that's what excited me when he took the job leaving Oregon, that you were going to play the Jimmy Johnson brand of in-your-face football, and they do that.
Yeah.
And I think the swag is a big part of their motivation. They feel disrespected. I'm sure you would concur with that, because just the mere argument that people were having about them and their eligibility for this. How did that play out? Because, back in the day with Michael Irvin and Dan Stubbs and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, there would be a really big chip on the shoulder of this team. Kind of like when they went to the Cotton Bowl that year.
Yeah.
Remember that? They had something to prove. Do you get the sense that vibe, with more discipline, I should say, has come back to the Canes?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. And they know they're good. They know they're good. They feel disrespected. Yes, they do. And the whole Notre Dame saga, them or Notre Dame coming as we came down the stretch, they beat Notre Dame head to head. And they were like, so what the problem is? We beat you head to head. Like, why are we arguing? What's the debate? And that really bothered a lot of Canes fans. It bothered the team, it bothered Mario, and they're motivated. And a motivated Miami Hurricane team, as you've heard Nick Saban say, as you've heard John Gruden say, and a lot of people, experts in college football, that's a dangerous team.
It really is.
They can beat the Ohio States, the Indianas. This Miami team is that good.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Now, what has been their Achilles heel, in your opinion? The things that have, put them on the bubble, shall we say, a couple of weeks ago when, the list of teams who were in the playoffs forced many experts to sort of raise their eyes or, put them in the throes of controversy, so to speak.
I thought a lot of what their problems were was discipline. They just, pre-snap penalties, false starts, drive-killing penalties. The Miami Hurricanes got their own way. That's especially the SMU game and the Louisville game. And they're so talented that even with those penalties, they still had a chance to win both games. They're that good, but they can ill afford to do that. I'm there in College Station when they play the Aggies this weekend. You don't want those pre-snap penalties. So they've got to have a system in place to alleviate the crowd noise and all that stuff and just focus on being who they are and dominate. That's Miami Hurricane football.
How much do you think Cristobal has matured as a coach? It wasn't like he came needing to prove himself, but when you go back to your alma mater, a place that you sort of grew up in, and handle the pressure, that's an enormous challenge. He looks from the outside like he's the coolest and the perfect guy to be in the spot. Could you ask any more out of him?
Well, I mean, in retrospect, I'm looking at the overall big picture. I thought Mario got in his own way earlier because he's an offensive lineman. He was thinking like an offensive lineman. He thought he could just bully everybody, like no creativity to the running game, just ran the ball straight up the middle. And we're saying, why aren't we using our weapons? We're watching Ohio State beat teams 50, 60, 70, to nothing or whatever. And we're coming out with, dominant wins, but we do it methodically, like with no explosive plays. We are a big play team. We're a big play team. Open it up. And people were questioning Mario. I think it was after the SMU game when he seemed to pull back and let the offensive coordinator do what he do. If you notice, Malachi Tony has been throwing the ball, catching the ball, running the ball, like they're using their weapons now. And they even have a luxury at tight end. They have a couple of guys, like, that you won't believe the amount of talent on this team. But you've got to, explore, use what you got, and you'll come out on top. This team is deep.
As far as being a championship coach, it takes a while to mature. It's very rare that you find lightning in a bottle. So I guess it would be safe to say then you see maturity to that extent. And right now, no matter what happens, you win 2-3 games in the playoff, you kind of reset the reputation, so to speak, to where it was when, we were doing our thing in the days of a different world, right?
I will tell you this, my friend. Mario is a hell of a recruiter, one of the best recruiters in the nation. Like every year we get all of this top tier talent. The problem was on game day, he's made some shaky decisions. There was a game when all we had to do about a year ago, I think, was kneel on the ball. And we fumbled because he ran the ball. Like the dumb bonehead stuff like that drives change fans crazy. But ever since the SMU game, this team has looked very impressive down the stretch. The way they've been in playoff mode since about October,
Right.
So I like that. I like the way they're trending. And I think Mario has realized somebody got to him. Maybe he had a come to Jesus moment or something, but he's dialing back. He's let the coaches coach because I thought he was micromanaging, at first, just being stubborn. But now the offense is opening up, and I like what I see.
So if he really did have the come to Jesus moment, we now know that there is truth to the fact that Jesus saves.
Yes, sir.
Divine intervention is what they call it. So with the Dolphins trash, Canes now the football team in Miami like it was, back in the day when Irvin and the boys were doing their thing. Steve Walsh was up under center, and the Canes players were getting the Dolphin players into the clubs.
Yeah. The Canes ran the city, and all the guys I hang with, Leon Searcy, Randall Hill, Willis McGahee, these are all my guys. We're all in the clubs together. We're hanging out. The Canes, the U. I won't say the U is back because the U will never be. That U team is never coming back.
Nope.
This is a brand new Hurricane team. But the greatness, the whole way we went about our business, that's back. That mentality. And that's what it's going to take.
Is the new young football fan in Miami gravitating towards them, building up the fanatic currency, so to speak, that great college football programs have? And then when they're in NFL markets that are bad, that becomes the rallying point. I mean, I guess for a long time it was the Heat, and now have the Canes moved into the place where the Panthers are in hockey? And given that they are a Stanley Cup winner recently, I'm anxious to see in what is a football town, back to the days of Shula, which has become a hockey and hoop town in the interim. But here come the Canes, right?
Absolutely. The fanaticism is back. They are the show. They are the show in Miami. And if and when I should say Mario pulls this off, he's going to be he's going to go down in history as the guy that rebuilt the youth, because this team has never won an ACC championship. We weren't expecting that when we joined the ACC. We thought we would be flipping championships back and forth with Florida State, but it hasn't worked out that way.
Both
yeah.
Jeff Fox joins us from Miami. It's the Canes and Texas A&M from College Station this weekend. All right. So given that you've already projected that this is a team that can get as far as the final championship game, when you look at the big picture, who's the team that you would expect to be on the other side? I'm all in with Indiana. There's something about Mendoza, the quarterback, where it just looks to me like it's his year. I've seen him live, and seeing him live is something even better than what you've been seeing on TV. That being said, who do you think would be opposite them if they get to the final game?
Well, I would agree with you with Mendoza. He's a South Florida kid. They seem to be on some kind of magical carpet ride. If you saw the Penn State game, they were dead in the water.
Yes.
Yeah, they were dead in the water. And I couldn't believe the way that ended. That was his Heisman moment. There's something magical about this team, so I would expect them to be there. But what I would like is should Miami win against Texas A&M, I do believe we have a matchup with Ohio State.
Yes.
And that's who we want. We want to get them. We want to exercise the demons of what was it, 2003? Or I don't remember what it was, but all I know is the referee's name was Kevin Porter, and we never forgot the moment. We never forgot, because they stole our national championship. We want to exercise those demons in the playoffs.
Wow. Well, I guess the first step is Saturday's game.
Gotta handle your business. You gotta handle your business.
And it is what it is. Because I'm happy for y'all down there on South Beach, because I know how difficult it has been. And there was a time where you had to sit through the futility of the Dolphins and the Hurricanes. Yeah. So it's almost like you're rebuilding coming out of one of those weather disasters, except they happened on the dime. And that's great, because I think you can speak to it. For all the glitz and all the distractions from South Beach. Just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But with all those distractions, the focus is still always on football. You got the Marlins, they came in, they got your chip. You have, like I said, the Panthers early on. You had the Heat with Dwayne Wade. Now to have the Canes back, it just simply seems to be a time where things almost seem right again, seem normal, if you will. Does that make sense to a native like you?
Absolutely. It's back to where it should be with the Miami Hurricanes. And I give Mario Cristobal all the credit, because he knew what it took to get back to Miami Hurricane football. He knew he had to build an offensive line, and he's got some monsters on it, and the defensive line as well. He done that. He did that. And I think we're on our way. Also want to shout out Messi and Inter Miami. They won the MLS championship. So the club is getting bigger.
So here's the deal, man. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm a secret soccer nut. All right, let's be clear about that. Chelsea's my favorite team. I will bask in the glow of the club championship until the next one. All right.
You won't believe this. I ran into him at a grocery store in Publix. Messi was in Publix online, and I couldn't believe it. I was standing right next to him, like when he first got here, and that was a moment, because the dude fits right in. He's a Miami celebrity, man. He can go anywhere and be recognized, and he's just got that swag.
Speaking of fitting in, that boy Jeff Fox fits in everywhere. Thanks a lot to my man Jeff Fox for joining us. It's OG Sports Radio. Professor G continues this OG Sports Rap on the network. Thanks for hanging out with us at this time. Remember, you always got a place in cyberspace with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook if you're so interested. So we want you to be a part of the program. Sadly, as the Rams and Seahawks continue to try and battle for a spot in the NFL's postseason tournament. There are layers to the story right now of what began as a social media post, which went viral yesterday involving Puka Nakua, the wide receiver who was on a live stream. He was talking to this dude, Aiden Ross, who had been previously banned from platforms for hateful conduct. And he made a gesture. Well, I should say that Nakua was taught the gesture by Ross and did it on. It's a touchdown celebration that involves rubbing your hands together while looking at the camera. And the gesture, which some viewers referred to as a covetous Jew, end quote, or greedy Jew dance, is widely criticized as a derogatory caricature of mocking Jewish people. And my thing is this, what's he doing, first of all, with a guy like Aiden Ross? Now, I don't know if Aiden Ross was just trying to pimp Nakua out to get some views, which he did, which forced Nakua to issue a formal apology on Instagram today. And he said that he, quote, he had no idea this act was anti-Semitic in nature and perpetuated harmful stereotypes against Jewish people. Let's be clear about something, boys and girls. He didn't write that statement. His people did. So now that we know that either A, Puka Nakua is an idiot who's under the control of people who have anti-Semitic tendencies. I mean, you can't go around claiming that he didn't mean to, I guess, involve himself in an anti-Semitic act, but the bottom line is he did it. And now he's feeling the wrath of Congress. And while they got bigger fish to fry, when you do something like this and go that stupid, it opens up the door for political sound bites. Now, on a Thursday, when the Rams should be focused on everything, nothing but football, they got to push that nonsense out the way and try to win a game against the Seahawks. But when Eric Swalwell, a Democrat from California, and might I remind you that Puka does make a living in North Carolina, is demanding an apology or calling for Nakua to be dropped by the team. That's pretty bad when a congressperson is asking you or the team to, drop you, especially when you're tone deaf and forgot that this is the holy season for Jewish people. It is Hanukkah. It's something you don't do, not even when it's not Hanukkah. So let's just say it would appear right now that Puka Nakua may be playing his last few games with the Rams because there are just certain places that even the most, anti-Semitic public figure knows where not to go. And that is just a sad commentary of where, and this is clearly, again, I've never met him. I don't know why Nakua has gravitated towards him. And I think this opens up a very interesting Pandora's box for the NFL, because you can't legislate people's human rights. Okay, they got the right to, post stuff, say stuff. If you're ignorant to what it means, you shouldn't do it, especially when you're a public figure. And that's what happens. Nakua is now a public figure, and, people only knew him as an NFL player, but what happened was, and I guarantee you it's like this. So new school, when you feeling yourself sometimes, when you think that you got everything under control, that's where life happens. And guess what? Life has just happened to Puka Nakua. And when you start thinking, and this is purely business, most of the people you want to get endorsements through or with are companies that are either owned or run by folks in the Jewish community. You've lost that audience because you were ignorant and hanging out with a dude spewing hate speech. Now, this is a big problem because if this guy can spew enough hate speech to bring an NFL player into his fold and basically manipulating for clips. I think that was the way I looked at it when I saw the clip. It was like this guy was clearly using Puka Nakua's NFL savvy, or stature is probably the better word for it, to gain clicks and hits and likes, because Nakua for a while, I think, was leading the league in receptions earlier this year. He's Matthew Stafford's go-to guy. I mean, we're not talking about some stiff here. If there were a Pro Bowl still to be played, he would probably be playing in it. But now just think about all the branding and the endorsements that he lost. When Madison Avenue is, controlled, some would say, by the Jewish community who built companies and long-standing companies, he lost out on all of that. Back to Coach Thompson, life is hard, even harder when you're stupid. And that was just stupid and classless. And what kind of people is he around behind the scenes when he's away from the team facilities and stuff like that? The Rams cannot be caught up in La La Land thinking that just because you got a Rams player, they are not the Lakers. And they damn sure ain't the Dodgers, okay? Let's be clear. Not that I'm saying that you could be a Laker or a Dodger and haul off some anti-Semitic remarks or gestures. And remember, when, Dr. K, no, I ain't talking about Dwight Gooden. I'm talking about Elon Musk. Dr. K, when he did the Hitler salute, it was offensive to everybody. And this is the same type of moment for an NFL player. Now, again, I'm not for one to be getting into anybody's pockets, but you assault verbally the officials. I had your back on that. I think there's too much officiating, too many whistles. There's too many rules that have to be enforced to the letter of the law. And the laws need to be rewritten. All right, same thing you would offer up in terms of public policy in the United States right now. And that's what NFL rules are. Some of them are too long-winded. And again, when officials are officiating, not necessarily to the game, but how the big brother in the sky replay sees how they call the game, I think they're a step slow. And it's lead or they're a step too fast in making a call that upon further review should have never been made. And that's where we are right now. And then you got them worrying about the scrutiny, like in the NBA with the 2-minute reports. So now, by virtue of merely being associated with the fellow, this has become a situation that the league needs to write a law for. Okay? Let's be clear about that. And I hate to be a buzzkill, but I'm about to introduce a rule that I think could alleviate that. How about the no gesture rules? That's right, because that whole thing when I'm not a big fan of the knife thing with guys looking like pirates that are claiming a ship or something. That just signifying what? Cornerbacks like to do that when you get a stop or whatever. And does it add something to the game? Maybe to a younger generation. But the problem is the younger generation doesn't pay enough when they do things which have significant emotional or, personality scarring. They really don't. And I'm speaking as a generation here. The lack of a filter sometimes is a real killer for a lot of players and a lot of people who are of a certain age. Kid he's not 30 years old yet. And you don't judge a book by its cover, because at 30 years old, your book has not been written. You pretty much into it. So again, I don't want to assault his character, but if you're the league right now, you got to hit him harsh. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to capitulate to anybody's community. This rise of demonstrative behavior, and now you crossed over to the point where it becomes a black eye on your franchise that's in the number 2 media market. Let's just, again, there are layers to it. And a bunch of new G's will be like out there, oh, man, you just being old. No, I'm telling y'all facts. He has certainly, I'll tell you this. with the number of NFL players that you see getting great endorsements deals now. Everything from his teammate, Devontae Adams, having a Taco Bell in his house, right? To, I think, Matt Stafford was doing a Sleep Number bed or something like that. And let me tell you the therapeutic qualities of the Sleep Number bed. Oh, hallelujah, oh, glory. I'm sorry, I had a church moment. Thinking about my Sleep Number bed gives me the Holy Spirit. Whee. But, now to keep it a buck, what we're talking about here is, A, the reputation of the league, which is so Nakua can make money away from the field, extra money. He's whacked that whole brand up. And if there's one player in the league right now that is worthy of endorsement money for how he's played in spite of not having the parts around him, it would be Puka Nakua, who chose to lose his mind. Kind of remember, if you remember, I should say, there was this kicker named Mike Vanderjack, right, who kicked for the Indianapolis Colts when Peyton Manning was not becoming the incredible pitchman that he is right now, for real. And so the guy, Vanderjack, got liquored up and started berating his team and the ownership and what have you. And Peyton said, and only in the way that folksy country dude would talk, he said, well, our idiot kicker got liquored up and started running his mouth. Now, I don't know if Puka Nakua was liquored up or, buzzed up or whatever. But how do you lose your mind if the people around you aren't schooling stuff on what kind of podcast are you hanging out with? If for no other reason, now that may be his boy. I got my boys, but there's some boys, whoa. Certain environments, you roll with certain folks, and others, you do not. And when you got a guy who's a podcaster and you share his views, and part of his views are anti-Semitic, and you're caught on video, live streaming, being a bold dude, wanting to show it all off. It's like, in the district a few summers ago, there was some people that were actually planning criminal activity on YouTube, and they wonder why they got popped. The cops found them on, and then that's what we're doing here. So, again, be mindful what you put out there on social media. If you got something to lose, you need to really check your words. And when it comes to gestures, unless it involves a middle finger, you might want to leave it alone. It's your boy, Professor G. Mark Gray, it's OG Sports Rap on the network. Back on the other side in a bit. It's the last call right now, y'all, as we head towards the finish line of another edition of what we hope was a quality radio effort, at least according to us. I'm your boy, Professor G. Mark Gray. Remember, as always, you're welcome to join the HBCU Sports Nation fam. I know people are still basking in the glow. And all you South Carolina State fans, thank you for the troll. I do appreciate it. It is great. Now, remember, all right, since I got South Carolina blood in me, and some of my bestest friends are in the Palmetto State, all right, I'm the one that told y'all to holler at the Geechies to work a little root action. And the next thing I know, nobody's talking about the advice that I gave y'all that worked out, because they must have did something. Because by the end of the third quarter, it was like 21-21. So, I love the trolling, though. The trolling is great. And you should troll. Like I told y'all with Doug Stewart on Monday, you win the natty, you get to flex. And this is what it's all about. And in a strange kind of way, there's a certain amount of non-anti-Semitic, good old-fashioned fun, Now, again, I don't want to continue to berate Puka Nakua, but hey, man, I don't think that this incident is going to go away. I think it's going to hit him financially in terms of endorsement deals. But again, I'm anxious to see what kind of pressure when a standing Democratic national legislator comes out and says, Rams, y'all need to get rid of this guy. And Cali put a lot of taxpayers' dollars into SoFi Stadium. So stay tuned for the ramifications of this latest episode of Life is Hard, but it's even harder when you're stupid. Now we can go back to the ridiculousness of simple old college football stuff. And, you know, one thing about the brackets that we talked about earlier in the game, or in this particular program, I should say, is when you get brackets, you get to see how teams match up. That's the lure of the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournament. And the thing that works better about college football is you're in December. You probably can get the day off. You got to sneak around to watch the first couple of rounds of the NCAA tournament. Again, which kind of makes football's championship more dope than the 64 and all that. But we'll have that conversation in March down the line. If you got some shekels, all right, as the college football playoff gets underway tomorrow, okay, we've got a couple of big matchups over the weekend where if you know how to play the game, you should come off. And I'm going to start with the point spread games. You got number 12, James Madison, the last team to qualify, I should say, and they take on number 5, Oregon. Oregon, 21.5-point favorite in this game. It's the largest spread in the first round. James Madison has had a great season. I just think that 3 touchdowns is rather rich. I don't think James Madison can win this game, but I do think that some of the Cignetti leftover element will make this closer than a 21.5-point game. So if you want to take the spread, or I just don't think that Oregon is going to cover 21.5. They are really that good, but I think James Madison can make a better statement for themselves and their program. They've got a certain championship pedigree. There's some guys on that team who know about winning a national championship, having played for Kirk Cignetti in his last year, like 3 years ago now or whatever. So all things being equal, I would take James Madison against the points if I were going to lay some shekels down for that opening round matchup. I think another game is you might want to take a look at is strictly on the spread, the money line right here. Because check it out. You can get Ole Miss as a 17.5-point favorite at home over number 11 Tulane. Now, Ole Miss drubbed them earlier this year, 45-10. Tulane's coach has bolted for the job of University of Florida. So you got two new coaches, right? Or did Summerall? I think Summerall might be back. But whatever the case is, 17.5 points really looks good to me for Ole Miss, but I'm a little scared only because, my friends, that Ole Miss can't be in sync like they were the first time that they played Tulane this year. With it takes a while for the dust to settle with regards to Lane Kiffin's leaving and then the school saying, go ahead and get your next life ready. We're going to stay where we are. So here's where I am, okay, with that. This is a roll of the dice by the athletic department because he didn't want to miss out on recruiting, transfer portal, signing day, the whole bit. But this puts his team in a vulnerable spot. The only thing that makes the 17.5-point palatable to me is that Tulane pretty much has said, bon voyage to their coach as well. So I'm reluctant to go as high as 17.5. So I think I'm going to take Tulane. These two teams are expected to be blown out. I want to believe that there's some measure of intelligence inside that room, and they're doing more than just looking for singles and watching skin flicks, right? I'm thinking that these guys know what they're talking about because they're on the committee, which is something you need to factor in if you're placing those shekels. And remember, I'm giving you this shekel knowledge free of charge, okay? But it's only for entertainment purposes. So if you got shekels that are earmarked for bills, gas and electric, tuition, college fund, car note or mortgage, you might want, and you're struggling, 1-800-GAMBLER, hook you right up, okay? Because, see, we can't be a us without you. So we will want you to stick around, okay? Now, tomorrow night, we're going to go through this weekend's NFL games, and we'll recap tonight's matchup between the Seahawks and the Rams. And that's what makes those the Puka story so interesting. How do the Rams use him? That is the storyline. And I'm not necessarily the biggest fan, but this is going to be a great storyline to watch how the Prime Network people address it. Particularly, I'm interested in hearing Richard Sherman's take, number one, and Tony Gonzalez, number two. All right. No disrespect to Andrew Whitworth. He's just too nice a guy. I don't think he'll go all in. The other two, okay now. Now, all right, let's get back to some more of the shekels that you can look for in the first round of the college football playoffs. These are two tough games to figure out. Texas A&M at home is a 3.5-point favorite, but some people believe Miami can win outright. The money line, as I get it right now, is plus 138. So you look at Miami's strong defense. They got playmakers that we talked about with Jeff, like Malachi, Tony. They difference makers. Now, one thing about A&M's offense, they have been up and down at times. Now, it is an early kickoff, so we got to put that into its a perspective, because while Texas A&M is playing at home, the routine of being at home is out of whack. That's, those are intangibles, and God rest his soul. I used to watch Jimmy the Greek when he was on CBS, what was that, NFL Today, and he used to have his categories that he used to use, and that's one that I will go for. He had it break down. If you ever need to do a old Google search, Jimmy the Greek, NFL Today, predictions, and he'll show you how it's done. Now the images are grainy because we didn't have high def or, any of that at the time. But the way he broke down the game was crazy. Games won on intangibles. That's a factor you got to add in when you're doing that. All that being said, right now, number 9, Alabama is going to Oklahoma, and I don't see Oklahoma beating them twice. Even though Oklahoma's a 1.5-point favorite, Bama's even, can you believe this? A slight underdog at plus 105 on the money line. So I would say in terms of the game, whoever wins the turnover battle, as is most of the cases, probably going to win. I would say that Alabama's got to wake up. They got dominated by Georgia. And Oklahoma, at home, fast, physical, athletes, Oklahoma 1.5-point favorite. I might want to take Alabama, though, as a slight underdog on the money line. I can only imagine what it's been like for those kids after the way that they were drubbed in the SEC championship game that Alabama fan feels is their rite of passage to win. And this could be the last time you see Kalen DeBoer at Bama, even though they made the tournament. Not too many people down there in Dixie are feeling him right now, but y'all got to realize there's only one Bear Bryant and there's only one Nick Saban. Okay, you can't expect Kalen DeBoer to be Nick Saban. You can't expect him to be, Bear Bryant. You can expect him to win, and he got you to the playoffs, and he's still playing. Now, we don't even want that Uncle Jesse Dukes of Hazzard mindset going into the playoffs. Oh, none of you Nimrods, you know how you do it. You'll go and start killing trees around that man's house. Enough already. And you know where I'm coming from. For the love of Harvey Updike, don't go stupid if your coach loses a hard-fought game. And before I get out of here this evening, I need some crotchety old man time here. Because every once in a while, there are things that come along during the course of the day that just annoy you, and you got to vent with your folks. So I hope you will stick around as I vent about Rideshare drivers have become rude. If you know, how you gonna park in front of my house and block me when I'm trying to get out and go to work because you waiting to pick somebody up who's too damn lazy to get a driver's license or buy a car? Hey, look, don't block people in. I know you got a job to do, but you cannot block folks in. I'm sorry, I had enough of that. You're trying to be cordial, you got to wait for somebody. I'm waiting for my client, man. Hey, move your car so I can leave. I ain't making a damn dollar off of you. What you doing with your car for you to be blocking me in from going to make mine? Okay? And this is the problem of parents not encouraging their kids to get driver's license. You got all these people who are rude with their, transportation business. And I respect the independent hustle. I expect the grind. But you ain't got to get in the way of my grind, with your car, how about this? Sydney handicap parking spot, y'all. Why not that? If you're expecting somebody to come downstairs and you're still sitting in the car, you're not going to be told. Okay? For real. The time has come to end this, ride share drama rudeness. And the next time I see one, I'm going to out you. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. I'm Professor G, the sports OG Mark Gray. This has been OG Sports Rap. We got a 22-hour break, and we'll holler back tomorrow. Deuces.